Unfortunately, the gore is no more, or at least in TNA Wrestling, as Rhino has announced he is going to be parting ways with the company. Welcome back, guys, to Fog Wrestling. Sad day for TNA, sad day for Rhino, fans of Rhino, fans for TNA, because TNA and Rhino are going their separate ways. Rhino has announced that he will no longer, after tomorrow, be a TNA wrestler. He did get inducted into the TNA Wrestling Hall of Fame at Bound for Glory, but now he is going in a separate direction, and he will be leaving the brand after, I believe, 5 years. He's pretty much been in TNA ever since he left WWE. Remember, him and Heath Slater had a decent wee tag team run as the tag team champs back when SmackDown first started. I mean, they were one of the better things about SmackDown. Heath Slater and his kids, Rhino, just being Rhino. It was an enjoyable stuff. But you know what? I'm looking at Rhino now and I'm thinking, this is a good move for him. Either he could, I mean, he's got 3 options on the table, I think, because I believe his days as a full-time wrestler are done. I'm not saying he can't lace up the boots and have the odd match, but I don't think we're going to see Rhino go anywhere and be an active wrestler week in, week out. So, I mean, he's got the option of WWE, where I think he'd most likely be a trainer, maybe help down at the Performance Center, something like that, who knows. Maybe he could help out at NXT and wrestle. Maybe he could have the odd match, try and put over some NXT guys, or they might put him on Raw or SmackDown. But I believe he'd be an agent there and he'd be a trainer. In AEW, he could go to AEW and collect a big paycheck. I mean, they would probably rather have him in a wrestling capacity. Again, I don't think he'd be there as a full-time guy, but he could have the odd match, and I think he'd make a lot of money in AEW. He'd make a lot more money in AEW than he would WWE, because Tony Khan would overpay him for sure. So I think both of those options sound good. Either he could get a job for life, maybe, at WWE if he wants it, or he could get a big payday at AEW. That seems to be the 2 options in terms of continuing his wrestling career. Then that leaves the 3rd option, where Rhino might just want to retire. Maybe he just wants to go off into the sunset and not wrestle anymore, or not be involved with wrestling. But this is the announcement that he made on Facebook. He said, quote, "Tomorrow is my last day with TNA Wrestling. I am wrestling Ryan Nemeth. It will most likely be the last time I ever wrestle in a TNA ring. If you can make it to the center stage in Atlanta, come and be part of this 5-year chapter of my life and our journey. Thank you to all the amazing wrestling fans for your support. I'm not done wrestling, but TNA and I have parted ways." End of quote. So, TNA, Rhino, parting ways. He says he's not done wrestling. Does that mean he's not done wrestling in the ring, or he's not done with wrestling in general? I mean, he doesn't have to go to one of the top companies. I guess he could be an indie guy. Ring of Honor these days is practically just being like AEW. If you're a Ring of Honor wrestler, you're practically just, you're an AEW guy, but you're on Rampage level of pay. You're on Ring of Honor level of pay. You're like a D-list, a D-list wrestler. We'll see what Rhino does. I like Rhino, but I mean, the guy he must be into his 50s now. He has slowed down quite a lot in the ring, but it doesn't look like he's ready to stop. Looks like he is ready to go, and he will continue staying in the wrestling business. So, yeah, I think there's options for him, no matter where he goes. I'd like to see him wrestle a couple more times. I'd like to see him put on the boots a few more times. I think he could definitely do a job in TNA, WWE. The Royal Rumble's coming up. I mean, I'd like to see him in the Royal Rumble. Certainly could get a spot for him in that. Yeah, who knows? I'm looking at the rosters that Raw, SmackDown have, NXT have. I mean, you could always use a guy like Rhino on the roster. Again, he doesn't have to be there every week. He doesn't have to be in title pictures. If he wants, and you think it's the best way to utilise Rhino, he could be a jobber. He could be a guy that puts everybody over. So, yeah, there's definitely options there. And, of course, Rhino's got an option of AEW where he can make the big money. But it's up to him. We'll find out what he does. But it looks like he's definitely going to continue his career with wrestling. And I think he could have got a better send-off in TNA. I know he's been in TNA before, but he did say this is likely the last time he will ever wrestle in a TNA ring. And I just think it would have been better if they gave him a bigger send-off, a bigger build-up to a retirement match match even than just being on a random show against Ryan Nemeth. You know, they could have at least let him main event an Impact or something like that. That's what I would have done with Rhino. I would have had him in a retirement match, main event Impact, or at least put it on a pay-per-view, but that doesn't look like that is the case. So, yeah. Anyway, guys, that is it. We'll catch you in the next one. Rhino is done with TNA. And, yeah, that's it, guys. Till next time. Let us know your thoughts on Rhino down below. And peace.